Hello and welcome to Salisbury and Sweetnam's sports podcast. And don't be alarmed to not hear Adam's voice, because he's off enjoying the sun in Tenerife, catching a tan, I believe. But we're happy to be joined this week by mixed martial arts fanatic and aspiring musician Daniel Hayes. Welcome aboard.
How are we doing, James?
I'm absolutely tremendous, and thank you for coming in such horrible conditions. I'm really struggling with the heat. As a man who's also pale skin like me, I'm struggling with sunburn. I look like a squash every time I take my t-shirt off. Not happy with the weather conditions. How are you finding them?
Not great.
Not great.
Atrociously sweaty nowadays. It's
Tough.
Really getting out of hand.
Well, alongside the unbelievable cleaning job I do, tremendous work, really I'm one of the best in the industry. I also do work for an events company, so over the course of the weekend, I've been outdoors constantly doing like bouncy castles and stuff like that. In fact, do you remember Total Wipeout and they had the sweeper?
Yeah.
So basically,
What a show.
Yeah.
Shout out to Richard Hammond.
Tremendous work from Richard. But anyway, my job was basically to do that. So I'm operating like this sweeping machine, and I can operate like a. Do you remember Stonyhurst College, like the really posh one, looks a bit like Hogwarts? And they were having like a summer's do. So I'm working there, and I'm operating this wipeout course, and I can dictate just how fast and in what direction this goes. So I'm able to take out whichever posh children I like on the sweeper. So that's quite entertaining. There was one particular child who I noticed dabbing in the queue, so I thought he's getting it. So yeah, that was my weekend in the events industry. Very hot and very abusive towards posh children.
Sounds like a good weekend, really.
One of the all-time greats. Lovely, lovely job to have. So anyway, we brought you on as our UFC insider to a certain extent, but also as an aspiring musician. So I want to ask you a bit about the very first time you picked up a guitar and started playing.
Probably year 4 when music was compulsory and nobody wanted to do it. They brought in this huge guy that looked the spitting image of John Carew, who used to play for Aston Villa.
Norwegian striker.
Absolutely.
Part-time music teacher.
Massive hands that definitely needed a bigger guitar. You know, he'd sort of smoke on the water, and then I hated the instrument and put it down for like 3 years, and then in year 7 decided that it looked cool and I'd give it a go on my own.
It was time to pick it up.
Indeed.
Once again. So obviously we ended up in the same GCSE music class. So in about 10-15 years, when you're a famous musician playing at the O2 Arena and playing in Vegas, I'm going to throw back to this when I'm still doing a podcast in my mum and dad's office in about 20 years. But anyway, yes, so I actually still have our original performances. Do you remember the first ones we ever did with Miss Lyon? Oh no, sorry, Mr. Garbett.
Yes.
Yeah, the posh teacher we had.
Mr. Garbett, what a legend.
Yeah, one of the all-time great teachers.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The performances that we did, like the live performances or like the recordings.
The live ones. I still got the videos of them, so I could show you later, but I remember
Jesus.
doing them. The ones we did in the music rooms.
Yeah, I remember them.
But yeah, I remember Garbett.
Garbett wasn't a fan of me.
Lovely fella, lacked teaching ability though, which was the main flaw.
Well, you feel that's bad? He then returned in sixth form when Miss Lyon went off to have another child, and I had to bear the year out with Garbs again.
So you scraped through the GCSE, and then you had to work hard for the A-level with Garbett, which I can't imagine was easy.
Not at all. He stopped sort of hating me as much, mainly because he realised that I did actually want to do a bit of music and not learn about Mozart. Yeah,
Mozart, terrible. Actually, a terrible syllabus all in all in music.
Wasn't great.
I can't say I was overly interested by any of it.
Miles Davis's All Blues is shocking.
I remember being in my GCSE music exam, theory. I ended up with a D in GCSE music, right? Got A's in the performances, and then got a U in the theory, which evened out to a D. So maybe could have revised slightly harder there. But all in all, I remember being in the exam, and Miss Lyon had told us there's going to be a set. We had to write an essay, and she told us exactly what essay was going to pop up.
Oh yeah, and it didn't come up.
It didn't come up, and I'd only
It'll
revised that one.
absolutely be on Miles Davis. It wasn't. It was on Schoenberg.
So
I listened to it. It's awful.
It's awful.
Sounds like shit.
And I didn't have a clue what to write. There's no way I'm getting 12 marks out of that. I couldn't even get 2, so that's ultimately why I ended up in a U. And my performance of Imagine by John Lennon wasn't quite enough to get me through to the C that would have been preferable.
I had a nightmare with the performance. We're in a band. Me, Rob McAway, Matthew Hall and William Grimshaw.
Well, Grimshaw, yeah, that was a lovely throwback for you.
Indeed. We decided to play Dancing Shoes by the Arctic Monkeys in a band.
Good choice.
So they all got A's. I got a B because I didn't sing in the same octave as Alex Turner.
Yeah. When did you start singing? Because weren't you just a guitar player at the start?
Yes, we were in a band. It was me, Matt and Rob. and Ben Wolfenden.
Ben Wolfenden, okay.
And then Ben left the band, and no one else would sing, so I said I would.
So
I stepped up to the plate.
So it's just by chance this career that you've got going on now. So yeah, I remember doing my performances. I did keyboard up until year. What year did we start music? So year 10. And then obviously sort of lost my interest in that particular instrument, so I just decided to sing instead. And yeah, obviously, for any people doing GCSE music now, your performances aren't enough to get you good grades if you don't work on the theory, which is what I found out, because if you get A's in the performances, but you get a U in the theory exam, you will still get a D overall. So work hard in other areas. There's my advice for all aspiring GCSE music students.
Absolutely.
I think it's a lovely piece. But anyway, yeah, moving on. So who were your sort of inspirations who really got you into music? Your favourite artists, if you will?
I don't know, I grew up listening to, like my dad playing music. They'd all be like some bizarre 1970s pop music. So it'd go from, Donny Osmond's Puppy Love to... Puppy Love to Tiger Feet by Mud.
Right, interesting. I remember Puppy Love. Do you remember Stars in Their Eyes?
I absolutely do remember Stars.
Absolutely quality. I left from my primary school, went on that as Donny Osmond and did Puppy Love, I believe.
Interesting. Bold choice, to be fair.
A very bold choice.
Yeah, after I got out of the 1970s pop music, it was, Arctic Monkeys, Oasis. Sort of your stereotypical indie bands.
Yeah.
That aren't actually considered indie bands anymore. It's a bizarre world we live in.
Yeah, we're moving forward at a bizarre rate, actually. Music isn't even music anymore. And I mean that in terms of grime artists like Stormzy, etc. People just sort of listen to music, I don't know, to come across cool and stuff, but I don't think there's much talent in that sort of industry, personally. And I remember being at Tea in the Park a couple of years back, and Travis were performing in one of the tents, and in the other, on the main stage, was Calvin Harris. And I was outvoted 10-1. Everybody wanted to see Calvin. I was on my own, watching Travis in a small little tent with a load of 40-year-old men and women. So... obviously, the younger generation are more attracted to somebody just pressing play, which isn't really my sort of thing. I prefer the sort of, instruments and singing and the normal sort of stereotypical stuff, which I know you do too.
Mr. Garbutt would be proud of you for your bravery coming out about these.
Yeah. For my analysis
of modern music.
And I've got to be honest, Mr. Garbutt inspired that actual speech. Yeah. Credit to Garbutt and Lyon. I don't want to slight them too much. They were good teachers and nice people overall. Very nice people. So if that's come across slightly offensive, that wasn't intentional. Nice people. So yeah, moving on to your actual performances. Do you enjoy getting up on stage and playing for the crowd?
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice seeing people enjoy the music, and it's nice. It's nice when I play my own tunes and see people enjoying them.
Yeah, you've written your own songs, haven't you? So what's that process like?
I've written a few. It's not too hard, to be honest. I say that it's quite a bold step. It's easy writing songs, but it's not. I don't know. I just normally, if I can write loads at once or write nothing. It takes ages, and there'll be a big stage of writer's block. But just whatever idea I have in my head, sit down with that and the guitar, and sort of just sing random words that sort of sound like a decent melody.
You just put them together.
And then write them down and then go back and edit them so that it sounds cool and fun and nice.
So every writer sort of has their own process, if you just sort of discussed there. Noel Gallagher, for example, takes cocaine before he writes his song. So when you're writing out a song, is there a sort of deeper meaning to you? Are you using stuff you've gone through in your life and stuff to make that song?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes they're just utter bollocks, and it's I go for a I Am the Walrus kind of vibe where nothing means anything.
Lovely song.
You can't beat it. Should be the national anthem.
Should be the national anthem. I can't imagine the English tube coming out to Colombia to I Am the Walrus.
Get rid of bloody God Save the Queen. In with I Am the Walrus.
Absolutely. Motion seconded, actually.
I heard Jailings is the Eggman, but that's another thing. Yeah, some of the main stuff. Some of them are surprisingly not a lot of them are the stories where it's like seems personal. Most of them aren't mine. The people that I know. So yeah.
Alright, so you're taking other people's experiences.
Yeah, stuff that's happened to other people. I've had a fairly uneventful life thus far, so there's not much to draw from. So, yeah, other people's stories of, I don't know, misfortune or happiness. Yeah. I'll call dibs on and write a song about it.
Yeah. So, as somebody who's seen you live, you're very good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was at Pemberton Live I saw you, I think,
Indeed.
last. What was it? It was in the... Which estate agents was
it? Oh,
it?
God knows. There's some bizarre venues. We can get Reed and Co, that was
Reed
the one.
Co, yeah. You put in a tremendous performance that night. So, obviously, as I've heard, I know you're very good at what you do. So, at the end of our podcast today, I'm going to have a Stuck in the Middle with You, which is a song that you perform. I'm going to nick that off your iCloud account, so don't you dare do me for copyright. And I'll stick that at the end and people can have a listen. And if you have any sort of gigs in the upcoming future, just tell me them and I'll put them out on the Twitter account so people can listen in.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, so moving on to the football, and alongside GCSE Music, we also played for the same team. And
we did.
Obviously, Gareth Southgate's doing a wonderful job managing England, but we also got to perform under one of the greatest football managers to ever step foot on the earth, and that is Chan Patel. So did you enjoy playing under his role?
I had an interesting time under the management of Chan. A few great memories. Him insisting that the wings were a relevant place to go on the field and we should play in a Christmas tree formation and go straight down the middle.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of time on that wing, so maybe that was a reason why I wasn't always in favour.
Yeah, it was. We had a rocky relationship to me and Chan. I arrived at the club from a rival club, Pemberton Town.
Yeah. For those who don't know, after when New Longton came about in year 8, they were about the 4 of them, but they folded and then got back together in year 8. And at the end of that year 8 season, we were basically put in the East Lancs League because we didn't sign up in time to join the Central Lancs League. And what happened was we were stuck in the Championship, which is way too hard a division for us. So we were travelling to Burnley and Blackburn every single week, which is just an awful place to go to. And on top, Burnley mostly, Blackburn's not too bad. But yeah, Burnley, we're losing 8-0 every single week just to rub salt into the wounds. And at the end of that season, a lot of the players that left us moved to Pemberton Town, hence the rivalry. Obviously, since then, we improved quite drastically, but yeah. That's the sort of backstory to that.
Came with the signing of me, I'd say.
Yeah, so Chan was always wary of you being in our team.
So yeah, so I arrived for training, and he asked where I played. Told him I played up front. Told him scored 18 goals prior season, and he insisted that I played centre back because I was tall. I was like, Chan, come on, don't do this to me. But then he carried on playing me at centre back. Eventually realised his mistake, stuck me in the middle of the park, and me and his son, Pav, tore it up like a prime Xavi and Iniesta.
A former manager's player of the year on 2 occasions, I believe.
Yeah.
Good player, Pav. And I like Chan. I think he was, a good manager.
He was a good manager. He meant well.
Yeah, I like Chan.
It was, my favourite moment is I forgot to turn up to training on the Tuesday. We had quite an important game against probably someone like Croston.
Well, what would have been a big game, Croston?
On the Sunday. Yeah, and because I didn't turn up to training, he refused to start me. And 10 minutes into the game, we get a free kick. The bench turn around, look at me because
free kick.
I've been putting some decent free kicks away in training the week before, because I missed the other one. And then Chan outright, out of principle and stubbornness, refused to put me on the field. Can't remember who stepped up, but it was an awful free kick. It went out for a throw-in. And he turned...
Yeah. That was the standard of our play.
Yeah. And then he proceeded to turn around and have a go at me and told me that I should have taken it.
Right, so not a lot you could really do there.
But other than that, he was full of faith in my abilities.
Yeah. He had a lack of faith in mine.
Hang on, he put you in net.
Oh, what a game that was. Oh, goalkeeper John Moore
Sub-goal.
Was away for the week. So I was given the responsibility of going in net against Croston. And as we've already explained, Croston is a team that was not necessarily near to us, but they were roused in terms of we were very similar sort of ability in that league.
Always a tense game. Always putting up a good brawl.
Yeah. So I was... Yeah, they did put up a good brawl.
Always got out of hand.
Yeah, they even had a female in the team who enjoyed shoulder barging our members. And I'm pretty sure you have to leave junior football. So she carried on too long.
I was talking to someone about this recently, someone that knows someone from Croston, and apparently her dad was on the board for the
Croston team.
For the Croston team, and he would always have a word with the like the FA, and say, "Come on, let us play. Change the rules one more time."
Yeah, very ridiculous. That actually throws you back to when our primary school football team, A team and a B team, we had Adam. Adam was a very good goalkeeper back in the day, believe it or not, before he chose food over sport. And yeah, very good keeper. Had spells at like the academies and stuff. And we had another keeper who was okay, but not incredible. Anyway, his mum sponsored the shirt, so therefore he was our A team keeper and Adam was the B team keeper. So a bit of corruption at junior football level for you there, similar to obviously that crossing scenario. But anyway, going back to the game, I was put in net, and obviously I was a little bit nervous going into that. I always played relatively well in net in training, but didn't overly have the consistency and was a bit nervous about the game. And it kicks off, and we go 1-0 down after 30 seconds against the shots I definitely should have saved. So that was quite a worrying thing. And then we had there was a couple of worrying moments, a few shots that I just managed to save, just managed to tip round the post, so I was still nervy. And then they were awarded a penalty. And Adam called me over being an ex-keeper. He used to be our linesman, a very, very biased linesman to say the least.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember a game, the ball had blatantly gone over the line, and it virtually touched the back of the net, and he refused to rule it as a goal, saying that it was just too close to call. I think even the parents of the opposing team found that amusing because it was just so obviously a goal. But anyway, he called me over. He said, "You've just got to pick a way to dive and go for it." So I ended up saving the penalty to the amazement of absolutely everybody.
One of the greatest sporting moments of all time.
Yeah, up there with England potentially winning this World Cup.
With England women, it's coming home, Jim. It is coming home.
It is coming home, absolutely. And we'll get onto that in great detail because of course, it's time to clear the mantelpiece, Gareth. But anyway, so yeah, saved it. We ended up drawing that game 1-1. So yeah, relatively happy with my goalkeeping performance. And now statistically, I'm a better goalkeeper than John Moore. I've never let in a penalty, and I concede more goals. I concede less goals a game on average than John Moore does. So overall, I am the better goalkeeper.
It's going to be a hard pill for John to swallow, but
yeah,
I'm sure he'll get by.
I reckon that still kills him now. About 4 years on, he'll spend sleepless nights.
Keeps him up at night.
So yeah, that was a little bit of a background into our junior football career. But moving on to the World Cup, it's coming home, isn't it, Dan?
Absolutely. It's a certain, many things have happened this year that happened in 1966, and that's all the proof you need, other than the brilliant the great. Yeah, we'll go with great. Great seems like a fair way to categorise this team that we have. They're a good bunch of players, and they're doing their job well.
Yeah, they're doing it exceedingly well. Well, I've got an unbelievable fact for you here, Dan. Andy Murray didn't play in Wimbledon 1966, and he didn't play in Wimbledon 2018, so it's well and truly written in the stars this year. So, throughout the group stages, we've been very good. I thought it was tactical genius from Gareth Southgate to rest a few players, take the L to Belgium to produce an easier route to the final. And I thought
we did. We played great. We battered a load of teams we forgot existed.
Yeah.
Lost to Belgium.
Yeah. Panama are going back into irrelevance now.
Yeah. They're a canal at the end of the day. That's about it. And that's all. We played well. We showed that we can play good football. We have a bit of flair. I mean, I still hate the guy, but Jailings has pulled it out the bag so far, I'd say.
Yeah, as long as he stops dabbing, he's fine by me.
The only complaint I have thus far with our World Cup campaign is that Raheem Sterling's even on the team.
Yeah, he's been pretty useless.
Awful. Useless player, shouldn't be there.
Needs to stop.
Get Loftus-Cheek on.
Yeah, if he stopped doing canisters, I'd support him. But all in all, yeah, the media have been a bit unfair on Raheem throughout, but I don't think
he's been treated poorly in the media. And instead of focusing on things that he's done in his life, instead they should focus on that he's bad at football and scrutinise him for that. That's harsh. He plays well, but he just can't stay on his feet, and it's infuriating to watch.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jordan Henderson I thought was disgusting as well last night. I'd never be able to look myself in the mirror again if I went down off that headbutt. It was barely touched.
Yeah, it wasn't a good one, but, you've got to... I guess on this stage you've got to try anything. At the end of the day, we pulled it out the bag, but still heartbreaking to see Jordan Henderson stepping up to the penalty spot when everything's on the line. Even more so when Eric Dyer steps up to take the deciding penalty. But I think we played brilliantly.
Yeah.
Ish. Yeah. The Colombians, they tried to cheat, kicking away at the spot.
Oh, they're horrible, those Colombians.
But
Radamel Falcao didn't make it in the Premier League, and he's been bitter ever since.
Yeah, useless at Chelsea
and useless now, really, to be fair. Thank God James Rodriguez wasn't playing as well. That's always a positive. Cuadrado was relatively poor. He missed a relatively simple chance in the latter stages of the game. But overall, I thought we got the better of them for about 89 minutes very, very comfortably.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was a very positive atmosphere in the Fleece. Serious melee, the second...
Yeah, tell me about that, because I'm assuming it went off.
Oh, it was brilliant. So, nerves were high. Everybody was overcome with anticipation. And then old Harold steps up and bags a phenomenal little penalty right down the middle, full of confidence. And the place erupted, pints everywhere. Families of 5 were distraught. There was real scenes. And then, 2 minutes left, 1 minute left, whatever it was. And Kieran Trippier can't get it off the line. It's unfortunate. He played a brilliant game, to be fair. He's probably one of our best players throughout the game.
Yeah, he was good.
He just wasn't tall enough.
Yeah, and it took away from Jordan Pickford's absolute wonder save about 5 seconds prior.
Jesus, I nearly died. So when I saw that going towards him, I was like, that's it. This is the end.
I'm not often speechless, but my mouth was open and I couldn't seem to shut it. I was in absolute disbelief.
There was a lot of the game I did miss due to just the atmosphere of the place and the melees. And the melees that follow. I didn't even know Eric Dyer was the one that took the final penalty. It went off. I woke up this morning super hoarse from so much shouting. It was just really got out of hand. Jamie Sumner throwing pints left, right and centre. It was a sight to behold.
Bit of a dark horse there, Jamie. Throwing pints about. Who else was at this Fleece? Anybody else going absolutely mental?
It was there was plenty of people. Plenty of people you wouldn't expect. It was
who turned up?
Well, not even just you just see them. You just know when you rock up not expecting to see someone, and
yes,
Fred Smith and his crew arrived, and it was a pleasant reunion.
Yeah,
and along with the win, made things all the more better.
Yeah, throws me back to actually yesterday's game. I'll carry on with England, don't you worry. But going back to yesterday's game, a couple of days ago's game, Croatia versus Denmark. Me and Shaylin arrived at the Fleece just in time for the penalty shootout, and there was 4 middle-aged women on a hen do in the Fleece watching Croatia-Denmark. So
is that just poorly timed, or was that what she wanted? Was that?
I don't know. I don't know if she's just a huge Croatia fan and didn't have much else to do. It came across to me like it was relatively poorly timed.
Yeah, there was a lot of people sitting down for a meal as the game kicked off for extra time.
That's not a good idea.
Terrible idea.
Because your meat and gravy's going everywhere.
Yeah, but it was nice. It was nice to see plenty of people out. It got the I think it was 23 point something million.
Yeah, massive viewers
at home. So there's obviously all the more people watching in the pub. So
yeah, I think it was about 6-7 million better than the royal wedding. So that shows what our country's priorities are, and I couldn't be happier to be English.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because it's coming home. So
absolutely is coming home. But anyway, yeah. So back onto the game. Yeah, we conceded that awful header, and I think the spirits of the country were a bit down at that point. So the game finishes 1-1. We really should have won it in normal time. I went upstairs. I listened to World in Motion, a bit of John Barnes, and I was back in the mood for football. And I thought we dominated the second half of extra time. The first, we didn't look great.
Yeah, it was the first half was scary. A lot of passing it round the back. Wasn't pleasant to watch. Was it just before the end of the second half of extra time when Danny Rose just missed?
I believe it was, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Heartbreak.
Yeah.
And then going into penalties, it was maybe the most nervous I've ever been.
Yeah, we
maybe
notoriously don't do brilliantly in that area. I think it was 8 tournaments in a row or something we've gone out on. We've gone out.
Oh, but every time we've got to penalties.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because we're normally dog shit. We didn't make it out the group last time, and then we got shafted by Germany. Frank Lampard definitely scored
that day.
It was travesty.
And they've paid for it 4 years on.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the winners of the last World Cup always seem to go out in the group stage, so we're screwed in 2022, but it'll be fine.
Yeah, well, I don't think the livers of our country could take it anymore.
The country will absolutely go to meltdown if we win.
His statistics on just how many pints were poured over the last few days, I think it's a hell of a lot. A hell of a lot indeed.
Wouldn't surprise me. It's truly brilliant time to be alive.
Yeah. So it got to penalties. I was a little bit nervous. Luke looked me straight in the eye. Went, James, look at me. it's coming home. So I repeated in a slightly more distraught voice, yes, Luke, it is coming home. So we got to the penalty shootout. The first 4 were extremely well taken. Falcao, Cuadrado, Kane and Rashford scored excellent penalties.
Absolutely.
And then whoever it was for Colombia, they've got a limited side, I can't remember. They scored the third, and then Jordan Henderson, I believe, missed the third.
Jordan Henderson.
One of the most telegraphed penalties I've ever seen. It was so obvious where he was going.
Was it great?
Yeah.
Then they proceeded to rattle the one off the bar.
Yeah.
Heads went then.
And then Trippier took one. Boom. Excellent penalty. Right into top corner to make up for the fact that he sort of squandered that header earlier in the game.
At the end of the day, he was limited physically. He couldn't do much more than he tried. Yeah. He's a smaller lad, and that's all he could do. But
yeah, I've been in that position as a 5'9.5" at right back,
or
6'3", as I occasionally tell people. Never ever get away with that.
Are these people taller than you when you tell them this?
Well, I tell John Moore that I'm 6'3" all the time, and he seems to be in complete disbelief, as I seem to be about 5 inches smaller than him. But yeah, moving on. They obviously rattled the one off the bar, and then Jordan Pickford made an absolutely tremendous save, which I'm assuming created a rupture in my living room and the place.
Oh, absolutely. The place went absolutely berserk. It's the kind of talent you only get when you've played at Preston North End, really. But
oh, absolutely, yeah. The experience on that Deepdale pitch.
But yeah, brilliant save, pulled out the bag. Didn't see that arm coming out of anywhere.
Yeah, it was ridiculous how he managed to save it.
God knows, but I felt great after that, and then
it felt written in the stars.
It just got better and better, and then Eric Dyer steps up. I can't imagine what it was like inside his head as he stepped up for that penalty.
It must have been nerve-wracking.
It must have been horrible. There's a great photo of all the lads running towards Jordan Pickford as he's just saved it, and Eric Dyer's realising realising what he's got to do. No, he's about to step up for his penalty.
Oh, right, okay.
The save's just happened. The look on Eric Dyer's face he doesn't look happy. That's all I can say.
Yeah, so I remember being... Even our penalty shootouts back in junior football days are nerve-wracking, but I can't imagine what it's like to play out on the international stage. So
they are directly comparable, I imagine.
Absolutely, yeah, standard-wise especially. But yeah, Eric Dyer took the penalty and just about squeezed it into the bottom corner. The keeper got a hand to it, but it wasn't enough. It went in, and absolute ruptures in my living room, absolute ruptures in the fleece, pints everywhere. We've done it. It's officially coming home. Well,
it's an easy route now. I say that. We've still got to face Sweden, a side that we never seem to do well against.
Yeah, throwback that Zlatan Ibrahimovic bicycle kick from about 40 yards.
The whole game was incredible, but yeah, we got Sweden, then Russia or Croatia.
Croatia. Winnable games.
I say we beat Russia. I don't know if we beat Croatia.
Croatia are a decent side, but Denmark held them to penalties.
They did, but I don't know. Russia got a lot of momentum going forwards at the moment.
Yeah, and the whole team is on steroids. Not official, but official.
There's part of me that is I like seeing Russia do well because it's nice. They're the home nation.
Yeah, they are.
A lot of passion from the fans, but it's Russia, and there's a part of me that
I can't wait for the tainted supplement excuse.
Not even that. Just I wonder how much Putin's got involved, and I tell you what, we won't kill your kids if you lose. There's always that to be considered.
Yeah, it is. Just very briefly going back to the England team. Jordan Pickford, a national hero now.
Arguably, I say when it comes home, because it is.
Absolutely, yeah.
Gareth and our Harold will have to get knighted, and the rest undoubtedly get OBEs, MBEs, whichever's better.
Yeah, I'm falling in love with this English team. I tweeted on the night that I'm ready to settle down and start a family with Jordan Pickford. And I stand by that now. And Rashford, Kane, Dyer and Trippier can be the godfather to said children. So yeah. That's where my family's going in the future.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah, and also, my brother, actually, this is a lovely little story for you. My brother's an English teacher, so he teaches it as a foreign language. So he's worked in Mexico, he's worked in Malta. Now he's working in Colombia.
That's brilliant.
So he was watching the match in a Colombian bar, and I'm very proud and happy to hear the news today that he survived the night. So well done to Chris.
Congratulations, Chris. I do have a question though.
Yeah.
Scale of 1 to 10, how hard did he melee when we won? When we got one step closer to it coming home, or did he?
A 10 out of 10 cocaine fueled melee. And I'm not saying that because I know he's on cocaine. I'm just presuming because he's in Colombia.
Did you see the Colombian fans in dismay on Twitter? Some one particular Colombian woman saying that she couldn't believe that their team lost to a country that eats beans on toast.
I couldn't be prouder of our country for eating beans on toast.
And for football coming home.
Absolutely. Don't like those racist Colombians. Terrible fans, terrible players. Anyway, so yeah, I saw a lovely tweet actually from Channel 4, and I've just got this up on my phone. This is a quick look into the future. It's actually mind-boggling how Channel 4 have discovered time travel. The date is August 24th, 2018. It's been 40 days since football came home. The Queen has given Sir Harry Kane the county of Dorset. Sterling's column has been lifted in Trafalgar Square. Gareth Southgate and Jonah Pickford are the new hosts of the Great British Bake Off. # England versus Colombia. # It's coming home.
Wow, Bake Off's really got out of hand.
It is.
That's all I can say.
Well and truly out of hand. And I suppose we can have Marcus Rashford taken over on Britain's Got Talent now, as I think Deck needs a co-host as well. So yeah, you're talking about the route. A lot of the big teams are gone. Portugal, everybody knows I'm a big fan of them. I was able to celebrate their win at Tea in the Park a couple of years ago. Whilst I was meant to be watching the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I watched them in bulk, but I got to watch the Portuguese nick that in Euro 2016, the final. But unfortunately, this time they've gone out to Uruguay, so gutted for them. But alongside a few other good sides, Germany are gone. I know Argentina haven't played brilliantly, but they're gone as well. Spain have gone, and it really does feel like it's our year. So yeah,
it's hard not to see it though, isn't it? There's only 3 good sides left, really. Three sort of world class. Man, it depends if you count Uruguay as a world class side. They've got
they're a good side.
They've got some good players, but France are a world class side, I'd say, but they've only started recently playing to their ability. Brazil again, but they all seem beatable.
Yeah, and especially if you look, I'm not saying they're going to be easy games, but if you look at Sweden and Croatia, we shouldn't be too strained. Whereas whoever comes out of Uruguay, France, Brazil and Belgium will have to work really, really, really hard over the next 2 games, and it will tire them out a bit ultimately.
Absolutely.
So moving on to mixed martial arts, which is the main reason you're here. You're a super fan. We had you booked for this show about 4 or 5 months in advance.
Absolutely.
So the day's finally come. It's International Fight Week. It's UFC 226. We've got a real super fight. The heavyweight champion of the world, Stipe Miocic, taking on the light heavyweight champion of the world, Daniel Cormier. I'm going to be in absolute tears because I love both these men. 2 of the nicest guys about. I think they're both great fighters, but one's going to win, one's going to lose. Can you give us a quick breakdown of the fight?
Well, obviously, both of them incredibly talented fighters. They're both champions in their respective weight classes. For me, I think, at the end of the day, I think Stipe takes it.
Yeah.
And I think he takes it on decision because...
Decision, okay.
Daniel Cormier is an incredible wrestler, that being his main sort of, like, his base of his fight game is his wrestling.
Yeah, the Olympic pedigree.
But, Stipe's not some, he's not Rumble Johnson. He won't get easily beaten on the ground. He'll stand it back up. He'll be stronger than Cormier. And he's got better hands. But
he's got tremendous hands.
It's not Cormier's fought at heavyweight before.
He has, and he's unbeaten at that weight division.
He is indeed. So it's. I don't see it ending. I see it going all 5, and I think Stipe just edges him.
Yeah, I'm in sort of 50-50 territory here. When it was first announced, I was sort of 60-40 towards Stipe, but as it's evened out throughout the course of the last few months, I'm leaning more and more towards DC. I don't want to say I'm outright picking him yet, because I've not fully decided. But yeah, you mentioned there that he's unbeaten at heavyweight, and we know that DC absolutely has to murder himself to get down to light heavyweight. You remember Talgate, of course.
Indeed.
So I'm thinking it might bring a little bit extra out of his performance now he's not cutting the weight.
I think, I don't know. I think you're not wrong, but I think he's, although I don't know. It's hard. You can't go for the. He's too small because he's proven he's not.
Yeah,
he's beaten some big names.
Uzumir, he's competed with Jones, etc.
But I just think Stipe is arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time.
I think he is.
I'd argue it's him or I don't know. Kane's lost and been injured. Fedor was, incredible. Most likely on steroids.
Yeah, pretty much nailed on in Japan.
Yeah, so I think it does then have to go to Stipe, and I just think Stipe edges him. I'm a big fan of Cormier. I'm a big fan of Stipe. Realistically, I don't want to see either of them lose, like you said. But I will be rooting for Stipe, mainly because I just like I would like the divisions to stay sort of intact.
Yeah.
And not get a bit out of hand. The whole, as much as I love the McGregor going up to 155 and beating Eddie and becoming the 2-weight world champ, really had some heavy repercussions on the rest, on both divisions. And I just don't know. I don't see that being a great thing for two divisions that are already sparse on good fighters.
Yeah. I know this. I've got a couple of things that get my back up a bit about Stipe, and this is because I love him and I'm such a big fan of him. But I think, in terms of marketability, they've just massively messed this up.
Oh, definitely.
You've got an unbelievably charismatic guy who's a real, like, proper American man who everybody can relate to. He's a firefighter by day, real fighter by night. How are people not buying into this man? And you take into account his fights are always entertaining. He's got real one-punch power. So I just think he's been unbelievably underutilised by the UFC. So really frustrating in that regard. And he doesn't seem to ever get the credit he deserves. No matter who he beats, nobody's really buying into him. And people are going on and on. If DC wins, is he the GOAT? But there's no conversation if Stipe wins. Why is Stipe not the greatest of all time? Because he's the longest reigning UFC heavyweight champion. And he'll have beaten a real Hall of Famer in DC.
I think it definitely puts I think conversation will start to consider him if he beats DC. The problem is he's fought some great fighters, but longest reigning UFC heavyweight with 3 defenses isn't exactly mind blowing. I mean, I guess it shows the quality of what the UFC heavyweight division was, but it's not like that anymore. There's the same names coming back, Overeem's there again, and it's people that should definitely have called it a day. I know you're big fans of Mark Hunt on the show. I love Mark
Hunt on the show.
The man's at least 75 now. He really doesn't know what day it is. He should probably call it a day, but
or go to Bellator. There's a lovely, lovely pensioner scheme over there for him. So.
Yeah, he can take as many supplements as he likes, and
advocate against steroids, though. To be fair, Mark Hunt.
He is, absolutely. Wasn't impressed with Brock.
Yeah, Brock's a bellend, but we'll get on to Brock. In terms of it's interesting because the two main standout here are, for me, the striking and the wrestling. Now, Stipe's a very good wrestler. I believe he was an All-American, but DC's that little bit better with the Olympic pedigree.
Absolutely.
And DC's a good dirty boxer. We saw him get the better of Volkan Ozdemir, but obviously Stipe's a Golden Gloves champion, so he sort of gets the edge there. So I feel like the skill sets are relatively well balanced.
It's a very balanced fight. It's one of the most, I'd say, one of the most balanced fights there's been for a good while. It's really whatever the other person's weakness is, that's the other's strength.
Yeah.
But
right.
I think that's for that reason is why I think they'll sort of, balance each other out, and they won't. And in the end, I think it'll be an entertaining fight. I think there'll be some big shots. I think DC will get wobbled. I think Stipe might have his back taken at some point.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, it'll go to 5, and I think Stipe will just edge
nick
him.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind. I think that does a lot for both of them. It shows that Cormier can compete at a heavier weight with the best of the best. His stock will only rise because although he's, for someone that is the champion, he's still massively disliked because people love John Jones for some reason.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy, Cormier. It's a real shame that people haven't got behind him.
Booed every time he comes out.
Yeah, it really upsets me a bit, that, actually.
Always puts on a good show. But, I don't know. It'll be an interesting fight to watch.
Yeah. Especially this is just a little small tactical thing. I don't know how much this will come into fruition, but obviously DC's quite good at slipping shots, and he's got he's vulnerable to a head kick, but Stipe doesn't particularly throw them, so it'll be interesting to see exactly how the striking battle goes. If Stipe can sort of get it if Stipe can keep DC at range and stuff and always nail him clean.
Absolutely.
He has got crisp hands though, to be fair, Stipe. And all in all, I just think it's going to be a very good fight. Two of the best walkout songs, actually, that there are at the moment. DC comes out to Right Above It, and Stipe comes out to one of the most intense rap songs in the world. Stone-faced and doesn't really care what anybody thinks.
He's undeniably cool.
He is cool.
Hard as nails, knows what he's got to do.
I'm a world champ.
Still one of the greatest moments.
Yeah, I love that moment. When he sparks Fabricio Verdum in Brazil and the whole crowd's silent and you can only hear Stipe screaming, I'm a world champ.
Either that or when he knocked out Reem in
in Cleveland.
In Cleveland.
Now, people say the Americans can't make an atmosphere, but those Croatians went ballistic in Cleveland.
Absolutely. Proceeds to chant OHIO and the place goes berserk.
Yeah, it went mental. But anyway, so yeah, moving on away from Stipe and DC, I just want to touch on this very quickly. The two men in the three men I sort of suppose in the pipeline for the winner. Curtis Blaydes will be the #1 contender. And then, of course, you've got the two superstars, John Jones and Brock Lesnar. Would you like to see one of those two taking on the winner?
I'd like to see them fight each other, John and Brock.
You sort of just take your money, go away, let them take whatever drugs they want, is basically...
Absolutely. I think it'll be a good do because Brock is big and can wrestle. Really isn't that good of a fighter if you think about it, Brock. He's just a genuine specimen and just crushes people. John Jones is probably the greatest of all time.
He's the most talented fighter to ever set foot in an
Absolutely. He'd spend a week snorting cocaine and then come in after training for a day and
beat the best of all time, like DC and stuff. He's just ridiculous. It's just a shame there's that asterisk next to his name.
Indeed, yeah. And I think John probably does beat Brock at heavyweight. Surprisingly strong considering he's atrociously lanky, super rangy, can hit Brock from anywhere with some super peculiar stuff. I think John wins that, and then I'd like to see the winner of DC Stipe fight John, but I think that's the most logical fight, but I'm also not that interested in John DC3.
No.
I kind of am because John got caught, but if it comes out that it wasn't, if he wasn't cheating, it wasn't intentional, then DC's lost twice to him, convincingly. Yeah. It's hard to argue for the third.
James, have you seen the court thing with John Jones? He made very weird statements in that about his...
He's a very weird guy, though.
Yeah. I sort of think as well that John and Brock would be a super fight, but they don't really deserve it. I'd rather see a DC or a Stipe get the super fight.
Oh, absolutely. I think the John versus Brock fight is very old school UFC.
Yeah, it is. It could go on in Pride, that.
Absolutely. Yeah, get him on Rising or something, juiced up to the gills.
The co-main event's also a very intriguing fight, and we'll probably go into this in quite depth too, because it's another real 50-50. We've got Max Holloway, the reigning champion, who has looked absolutely sensational so far at 145. Battered Jose Aldo on 2 occasions, back-to-back. He's looking incredible at the moment, puts his striking together very well, and seems to be able to go at a fast pace every single round back-to-back and really breaks people down. And then we've got Brian Ortega, who's got a little bit of specialty about him. Incredible submissions and can really strike as well. But Cub Swanson and Frank Edgar back-to-back in 2 completely different ways. Who wins the fight and why, Dan?
It's a very, like you said, it's going to be a great fight. Both of them have, I think they've both got, they might be tied on the most third-round finishes in the UFC. I think Max has done an incredible job of, planting himself as one of the greats at 145. I think Max starts slow.
Yeah, and he builds up, doesn't he?
And he's a very unorthodox but good striker. But his ground game's not incredible. You saw him when Jose Aldo goes to the ground in the 3rd round of their first fight, multiple times to take the back, take his neck, choke him out, proceeds to keep trying to roll him over and get the ground and pound. I don't know if it was some sort of, if I finish him this way, it'll prove something, but he seemed quite sloppy as well, often losing his balance when he did have back mount. Brian Ortega's got incredible striking and likes to dabble in striking and will wait for you to sort of realise that you can't have him on the feet and try and take him down, and that's where he can use his incredible jiu-jitsu ability with his, he just shows how good he is on the feet with his knockout of Frankie Edgar. Yeah. An incredible uppercut that sent Frankie's head all the way back.
Yeah, a man who'd never been stopped as well.
Absolutely. And then his mounted guillotine on Cub
Basically beat him twice because he had that guillotine.
Oh
twice.
Yeah, it was sunk in at the end, but the round got called and then pulls it out again. He's an incredible jiu-jitsu practitioner, and I think I don't know. It's hard to pick. I go back and forth between the two. I want Ortega to win.
You want Ortega?
I'm a big fan of Ortega. I'm a big fan of his team, all the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu guys. I think I think if it goes to the ground, I think that might be it for Max. I could see Max winning the decision. I don't think Max stops him.
Yeah. Has Brian got the experience? Because obviously the Cub fight wasn't particularly hard and the Frankie fight didn't go long. So if Max can keep upping the pace for 5 rounds, I think he can win a decision that way. But he's got to be very careful because if he ends up on the back at all, it's probably game over.
Oh, absolutely. Max, Max does have good ground game. He's got submissions on his record, but I don't know. For me on the ground, it's all Brian Ortega. I don't see a way of Max getting a word in edgeways on the ground, but on the feet, I think Brian can hold his own. So I think Brian Ortega will win. I hope he does. I don't dislike Max Holloway. I kind of want to see Max Holloway at 155. I think that'll be interesting to see him. I was really looking forward to the Khabib versus
Holloway fight.
Yeah, the Khabib fight. That never came through. I think Holloway versus Ferguson's an interesting fight as well.
Yeah, it's a good fight, but unorthodox strikers.
Absolutely. I think, but to be fair though, I'd like to see both Holloway and Ortega at 55. But I think,
yeah, you're right.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of Ortega, so I'm gonna back Ortega for this one.
Let's just say, very interesting there with the 155 thing. It's going to be the first time Max has come up against somebody that's a similar size to him.
Absolutely,
since Conor McGregor, really.
Yeah, and the last time he lost to someone of his size was Conor, and that was 2013.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Very long time ago. Not a great fight. Conor tore his ACL during the fight, so it goes to a hard decision. But I think Brian can do it. I think Ortega can pull it out and potentially stop him.
Right. Okay. Via submission.
I think if it's going to end, it's going to be a submission.
Right, okay. So, moving on to the final fight that we're going to cover today. We've got two of the biggest and blackest men to ever enter a UFC cage. They are massive. It's the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, and the man who used to work in the sand mines, Francis Ngannou. Is this just a one-round war?
I don't know. I think if it goes past round 1, Francis hasn't got a chance.
Yeah, but Derek's not got brilliant cast either.
No. But as we learnt in the Stipe fight, Ngannou
can barely stand up.
Can absolutely not wrestle, and anything past 3 rounds kills him. Derek Lewis, he's a great wrestler, a lot of power in his hands, and I think Ngannou wins it by round 1 knockout.
I agree. Actually, I think Francis wins it by 1 round.
Unless the only way that doesn't happen is if Derek Lewis just holds him on the ground for 5 rounds.
Yeah, I know, but even getting...
Is it 5 round, 3 round fight?
It's a 3-round fight, yeah.
3 round, well, it makes more sense.
So maybe Francis can go for it a little bit more, but even
You'd like to think that he's practiced a bit of wrestling since the last one.
Yeah, he looked abysmal, but even in that 1 round, he still carries an extreme amount of power, and I think he wobbled Stipe in the third.
Oh, he definitely did. He caught him with some big shots throughout, but that's the thing about Stipe, you can weather the storm and
he's
keep
very
coming.
tough. Will Derek be able to get him down? Because I remember Overeem attempted to get him down and couldn't.
Overeem, yeah. Well, Overeem's not the same that he was, since the roids have gone, but Stipe managed to keep him down comfortably. And Derek Lewis, I'm pretty sure, weighs in heavier than Stipe does. And with probably not as good, maybe, but definitely good wrestling ability, I think Lewis can hold him down. I think if he was to fight Curtis Blades again, I think Blades would absolutely just squash him and prevent him from doing anything.
I still think Blades is vulnerable to good strikers, though.
Blades is vulnerable to average strikers.
Yeah, Mark Hunt nearly did him.
Yeah.
And Mark Hunt's not really an average striker, but you get
Mark Hunt's a great striker, but...
Kickboxing world champion.
Mark Hunt's problem is he's tiny.
He is, yeah.
He's tiny, and he's not tiny in a Mike Tyson sense tiny. He's tiny and fat. Really doesn't work in his favour.
Body shaming the super survivor.
Well, if I saw him, I absolutely wouldn't tell him that he's fat.
I'd walk over, get a picture, and give him a hug.
Definitely a legend of the game. But, regardless, I don't know, he's got a weird style. He likes to throw kicks that he can't reach. It's bizarre, but I think it's either going to be a great, quick fight, or it's going to be a boring 3 rounds.
So moving on to UFC 227, just around the corner, I want to go through this briefly. We've got the rematch between TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt. The first fight, very entertaining. Cody nearly had him in the first, and then TJ, I think, finished him with a head kick. No, sorry, it was a hook, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the second round, TJ won. Who wins this time around?
I'm going to say TJ again.
TJ again.
I am rooting for Cody. I'm a fan of Cody Garbrandt. I don't like TJ that much, but it's undeniable that he is an incredible fighter. But I think TJ does it again. I think
higher fight IQ.
Absolutely. I think Cody's a bit. He was a bit emotional in the first fight, so I don't know. He might come into the second one feeling a bit different about it all. If he fights how he. This is the thing. TJ and Dominic Cruz had a very close fight. Arguably could have gone to TJ.
Yeah, it was close.
And then Dominic and Cody had a great fight, and Cody schooled him.
Yeah, he won it comfortable.
But I can't decide if Dominic was off or Cody was brilliant.
Yeah, the reason for me why that was so one-sided is because Dominic's been able to beat people with really, really unorthodox striking that people can't get their head around. But Cody Garbrandt has had, I think, 35 or something amateur boxing fights and boxed to a very high standard, so I felt that it was easier for him to figure out that style.
Oh, definitely. Also, the fact that, Dominic Cruz has been absolutely whooping Cody's team since the dawn of time, seemingly.
Yeah, he's beaten every single one of them.
And they've more or less, surely, have got a game plan down. But TJ then went in there and, stopped Cody, so it's hard to tell. I think Cody will lose. I hope he wins. Yeah. I hope he stops him. But
yeah, my issue with Cody, and I feel like what's holding him back from being a star, is his sort of lack of substance. On The Ultimate Fighter, he just comes across like stereotypical sort of school bully.
Yeah.
A lot of aggression, but not much personality to back it up.
No, he's lacking in star quality.
But anyway, so yeah, I didn't actually overly want to see this fight. I was desperate to see TJ versus Demetrius Johnson. We talk about GOATs all the time. I want a brief discussion with you a little bit later on about that. But DJ, for me, completely and utterly has ducked TJ Dillashaw. He's not willing to fight any of the best. And as a fan, it's extremely frustrating because I can't take somebody seriously calling themselves the greats of all time when they're fighting people who they've already beaten before inside a round.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's disheartening as a fan. I don't know how much of it was ducking him because obviously he had the shoulder injury.
Yeah, but it's on the same card, isn't it?
Yeah, so it could have been done. But they also agreed to the Cody TJ fight before Mighty Mouse agreed to that. So, there's definitely the argument that he's ducking him. Wouldn't surprise me if he was. Personally, I don't think Cody's making 125.
No, I'm talking
TJ. Sorry, I don't think
he'd make it.
I don't think he's making that. I think it'd be a very interesting fight, and there's no point Mighty Mouse going up to 135. He's done that before. He's too small. But I think, it would have been a great fight to see, but, now he's fighting Henry Cejudo. Again. It
wasn't competitive first time round.
But Cejudo's a different fighter seemingly this time. He's he's improved his game a lot. He's become a lot more dangerous on the feet. I think it'll be a good fight, but at the end of the day, Mighty Mouse will win. People will go, "Wow, he's incredible," which he is, but he's fighting nobody's.
Yeah, I think it says a lot that he's on the co-main event.
Well, he's not a star. You can't promote him.
Exactly.
He's incredible. His fight against Ray Borg was brilliant. That was maybe the best submission finish I've ever seen.
He just needs to capitalise on it.
But yeah, like they named the move the suplex to armbar.
Yeah,
could have gone for something great. The mousetrap was suggested.
Yeah,
great name. They went for the mighty whiz bar.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's awful. It sounds like the mousetrap sounds like a cool finishing move.
It does. It sounds class, the mousetrap.
Yeah. No, there we are. The mighty whiz bar. Have a load of that.
Yeah, he's just wasted. He'll look back at his career and live in regret if he doesn't take the super fights when he's offered them.
Oh, absolutely. He could have had a big payday. Gone out, But I think, I don't know. It depends. He seems like the kind of guy that doesn't care and is more interested in legacy. And he's more interested in his name forever being
tied to that.
Tied to the greatest. Title defences, thus in turn, could be the greatest of all time. And his name will always be in the suggestion and in the conversation, but everyone probably will eventually go, but he fought nobody.
Yeah, and that's interesting when we talk about the GOAT, because a lot of these men do have asterisks towards them. So if you look at Jones and Silva, they both have drug ties to the name. DJ's fought nobody. Some people think GSP's cheated in some fights. I remember the baby oil scandal. So horrible. Who for you is the GOAT?
For me, I think John Jones.
John Jones.
I think his, the things that got him suspended from the fight game weren't specifically cheating. I know one of them was a drug thing, but it was Viagra, or as he liked to call it, dick pills. He he wouldn't have been given as long a suspension had he been, had he shown that he was sorry and empathetic to the situation. But by calling them dick pills in court, I don't think it went down well, and he proceeded to say give him a year suspension. The other one, hit and run, not ideal.
Yeah, he actually hit and ran a pregnant woman, ran away, and then returned, collected his wallet, and then ran off again.
Indeed. Wasn't, his smartest decision, but neither of them directly affect his fight game. Silva was caught doing steroids.
Twice.
GSP covered himself in baby oil.
And cheated against Michael Bisping. Never going to forgive him.
Didn't cheat at all. But,
you could not throw a left hook at a man who's blind in his right eye. Out of order. Bisping wins the fight via disqualification. Still the middleweight champion.
Regardless, the baby oil thing against BJ Penn, he lost against Johnny Hendricks.
Yeah, he did. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely lost. Mind, Johnny Hendricks was also balls deep in steroids. But, for me, it comes down to Jones. And Mighty Mouse has fought no one. He's too small. It's not his fault. It's just the way it is. John Jones is therefore, in my opinion, the greatest of all time. I think, there's probably a few other names that you could throw in there. Maybe BJ Penn. And I've heard people argue McGregor, but that's an atrocious suggestion.
Yeah, I think he's way off that.
Far too early. He needs way more fights. He's undoubtedly the biggest star for the sport. He's got it where it is, but greatest of all time.
Yeah, and obviously he's coming up, and he's probably got a huge fight against Khabib in the not too distant future. So thank you for giving me that seamless transition. But he's taking on Khabib. He looked very beatable in his last fight against Iaquinta. So how do you see the Conor fight going? Can Conor outstrike him to the extent that he gets him out of there early?
I don't know. Conor is an incredible striker. Probably got, I'd argue, that maybe the best stand-up in definitely in the division and the divisions neighbouring his. There's people like Stipe and the other were outright boxers, but he's definitely got incredible hands. Habib, however, can't. I don't know. Incredible wrestling, undeniable. Truly, just crushes his opponents. People like Edson Barboza had no chance. But then he fought Iaquinta and didn't look impressive.
No.
He obviously he busted him up. He just jabbed him the whole fight. But he stood tall, head back. For someone that can strike and slip punches like Conor, I don't think that ends well for him. But I don't know if Habib was just toying with him and wanted to show that he can strike, although he proved that he can't really.
Yeah, if he takes Conor to the ground, it's pretty much game over. Like Chad Mendes held Conor down pretty comfortably.
Yeah, but then, you look at that. Chad came in on 2 weeks' notice, took down Conor comfortably, but Conor had been training through
For a striker.
For a striker. Short notice, Chad steps in. He'd re-injured his knee in the build-up to the Chad fight. So it's hard to say. I'm a fan of Conor. I'm a big fan of Conor. I want him to win. I don't really like Habib, but I think if it goes past the second round, it's all Habib. There's nothing else for that. But I do think Conor has the ability and the power to put him away.
And I think in terms of, obviously, everyone knows what happened in New York City between Conor and Khabib, where Conor threw some stuff through a bus window. I think on the back of that sale, Conor coming back, Khabib obviously having that sort of evil Russian personality, I think this could be the biggest sold pay-per-view of all time.
Oh, absolutely. But back to the Chad thing quickly. We forget often quite quickly that Eddie Alvarez is on the par of Chad Mendes in wrestling. And Eddie Alvarez got schooled. It was the most one-sided performance I've seen in a long time. Absolutely just, put him away. Masterclass, really. It was a, 8-minute fight like Eddie didn't want, seemingly. Kept mentioning that he can't go past 8 minutes, and he didn't need to because he did nothing. The second that first shot came in and you saw Eddie realise that, bloody hell, the guy can strike, it soon turned west for him. And maybe the same thing could happen for Habib.
Potentially, yeah. And moving on to the more sort of British stars. Recently, the retirement of the greatest British fighter of all time, Michael Bisping. I can see Dan knows he's in for the long haul here, because Michael Bisping is obviously a hero of mine. Me and Luke have just sort of started out a documentary about him. Quite hard to do, actually, believe it or not, yeah. But we're trying to put a lot of effort into sort of selling him and selling the journey as being as incredible as it was. A man who truly never, ever, ever gave up on his dream. And what did his legacy mean for the sport?
It meant a lot, he really put British mixed martial arts on the map. Especially, coming from Clitheroe. It's not the easiest places to get yourself to where he did. But, he's an incredible fighter. He talked the talk, walked the walk most of the time. Came in, I think his legacy will forever be remembered of his when he won the title. Absolutely just destroying Rockhold, who really didn't care for the fight, seemingly. And he was just a very entertaining fighter who could both talk and, could really back up what he was saying inside the cage. Unfortunately, often, lost to the maybe bit better fighter.
Occasionally, perhaps.
But, he faced a hard run.
He really did fight the best at all. If you look at those losses, they are all against the elite. And there's a couple of cases, a couple of them on steroids, and
definitely,
a couple of them maybe could have won the decisions.
Yeah, I think some of them maybe he could have had they not been on steroids, but he also got some in his own way. The Dan Henderson fight, the second one.
Yeah, he tripped in the first one.
He tripped and Hendo coincidentally landed on his head.
Yeah, just a horrible turn of events.
It
really.
wasn't
slippy floor.
Yeah, it was hard for him. But, and then the second Hendo fight, Manchester.
Great fight. I'm still devastated that we didn't get tickets for that. I hate the secondary ticket market. It's
a real nightmare. But I think, he's definitely a legend of the game, and he should always be remembered for what he did for British martial arts.
Yeah, and I remember, we're currently one-on-one on Bisping predictions. I remember just before he fought Luke Rockhold, for me it was just absolutely written in the stars. I'm really nervous watching my fighters fight. I always have been. And when he fought Rockhold, I was so compulsive ridiculous. I really did just know he was going to win. And I remember telling you, and you were like, obviously, alongside a lot of, sort of experts really saying, obviously Rockhold beat him quite convincingly the first time. But the level of confidence I had in Bisping the second time around...
It was bizarre. I had very little faith in him. Not because I didn't want him to win, of course I did, but I just didn't see it happening. Especially, like you said, with how the first fight went, I just didn't see a way for him to get it done. But...
He did.
Pulled it out the bag. A couple of weeks' notice, and then he did it. But then, the next time we decided we'd
yeah, I lost the second time we went this way. We were in New York City, ironically, walking past Madison Square Garden discussing the GSP fight. I was very confident he'd win that. He didn't, but ultimately, he went out how he came in, as a warrior, refusing to tap, and his final fight against Kelvin Gastelum was about as much of a I will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime move as you can possibly get.
Yeah, and it was a terrible move to make because he got murked. It was atrocious. But it was heartbreaking to see, really. I'd, stayed up, watched some fights elsewhere the night before, got up, left over Domino's, sat down, it's in Shanghai, can have the Domino's for my lunch while watching some fights.
Every fight needs to be in Shanghai. Sorry to interrupt you, but every fight needs to be moved to Shanghai because I love the hours.
It's not bad, is it? Sunday lunchtime, you're on your way.
Absolutely, sausage bomb.
Sat there, enjoying a slice of pizza, and Kelvin just pulls out this. To be fair, it was a brilliant combo, but it was heartbreaking to see just Bisping hit the deck so easily.
Nearly in tears. It hurt.
It was hard to watch. Yeah,
it didn't feel like at the time like I was watching his last fight.
No, I think it was a very rushed situation of getting to we need an opponent. Oh, here's Bisping, quick. Everyone was so caught up in what a legend he is for stepping in on short notice. We all sort of forgot that he had just been beaten quite convincingly in a non-pleasant fashion mere weeks earlier.
Yeah, it really was sad, but he decided not to have another, which I think ultimately for his health is probably the right decision, and I don't think there's any more he could have done for his legacy, because some fighters are defined by losses, for example, like Ronda Rousey, etc., but Bisping's more defined by never, ever, ever giving up.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing more he could have really done to have improved that legacy, so as a hero of mine, I'm glad he stopped at that time.
Oh, definitely. I don't think there was anything else he could have done, though. There was
a
lot of the fighters that he would have to fight after. Like, I think Gastelum was the only fight that he could have won. I don't think he beats Weidman.
I think he beats Jacare.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel like Jacare's relatively limited in the striking department, and Bisping's got enough of a takedown defense to stay away from the submission game and just circle around.
I think that's probably, apart from the Gastelum fight, you're probably right. It's probably the most even fight he could have hoped for. But everybody else, I don't think he comes out. I don't think he beats Rockhold again.
And then again, Rockhold
Rockhold
would be in a wheelchair if he made 185 again.
Oh, definitely. Rockhold should definitely step up to 205. I don't think he beats Romero, who I also think should step up. I think a lot of the fighters in the 185 division should go up.
Yeah, especially considering
to 205, because one, the 205 division is in dire need of it, but it also will leave the 185 division a bit, empty. But it's a hard one. There's a lot of fighters there that he wasn't beating: Weidman, Romero, Rockhold. I don't think he beats Whittaker.
Whittaker's class, and I think Whittaker's definitely... I've said it for a while since the very first episode we did this show, that Whittaker's the future of that division. I think he's incredible.
Oh, absolutely. Me and Matt White wrote at the very, very start of the year, we had a conversation about who we think will be champions by the end of 2018. And I think
Rob was one of them.
Robert Whittaker was one of them. I think I foolishly chose Francis Ngannou.
Francis Ngannou.
I backed him to make it, and I was close. I mean, he got his title shot, so I was. I don't think he's going to get another one before the year finishes. But it was. I think I got most of them so far right. Many of them haven't changed, obviously, so I didn't think I chose many changes. However, I didn't expect Rose to come out of nowhere and
Fug Rose
take that one. But it was great to see that fight, and great to see the rematch as well, with her showing that it wasn't a fluke, and she can absolutely batter her over the 5 rounds.
So, like it or loathe it, Michael Bisping has retired as the legend that he is, but now the British fight fans need a new face to get behind. Is Darren Till that new face?
I think he is, yeah. I have thought that for a while after he starts Cowboy, but then the Wonderboy fight, he didn't make weight, which is atrociously disappointing.
Yeah, 4 off, I think.
And it was like, I like a bit of sportsmanship, but it was too much. They were hugging every round. It was, high fives. Oh, that was good. That's not the point of the game. You're here to win. You can show that afterwards. It got a bit out of hand. It was very technical. I was hoping for a bit more though, so I was a little let down. But I think Darren Till could be the next big British star. I don't think we have another option really.
Yeah, and it was obviously a huge step up for Darren as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, massive step up in talent, and he showed he can do it, but he also showed he can't make weight.
Yeah,
so.
Very worrying, and it's going to be interesting to see whether the UFC have faith in him to give him these big fights if he's struggling at the weight. Because obviously it ruins the pay-per-views when the fighters miss weight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so anyway, obviously another great British fighter, Leon Edwards. He fought Cowboy over the weekend. He put on a clinical display, relatively close, but he definitely did enough to win. So well done to Leon, and we're hoping that he can bring the UFC back to Birmingham and hopefully fight Jorge Masvidal. That'd be nice. Don't think many of us like Masvidal, so yeah, hopefully he can get beat. So, final British fighter we're going to talk about. Brad One Punch Pickett is back. I think all British fans love Brad. Really nice guy, good character. Are you happy about this comeback? Are you slightly wary?
I am slightly wary. He's great guy, but he's maybe a little past his prime, I think is the best way of putting it.
Yeah, definitely fair. Hopefully, with the slight drop in competition, he'll be a bit more, hopefully he's winning fights now more than he's losing, because he went on a bit of a streak, unfortunately, when he was still in the UFC. But yeah, nice guy, entertaining, and I hope he's coming back for the right reasons. Drifting slightly back onto that welterweight division, Colby Covington absolutely dismantled Rafael dos Anjos. He proved that he's more than just talk. He can walk the walk. He's going to take on Tyron Woodley, potentially at Madison Square Garden. Who wins the fight?
I hope Woodley, because I really don't like Colby, but
Quick one. And I think you're a Star Wars fan as well, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. Anybody who tweets spoilers to the Star Wars movies is not approved by me, and I hope he loses every fight he has and ends up with brain damage. And that's harsh, but you don't spoil Star Wars.
It seems reasonable, to be honest, so I can get behind that. But I'm not a fan of him. He kind of reminds me of like a more extreme version of Chael Sonnen, but not as funny. He just sort of comes across as a bit offensive, where Chael was obviously offensive, but he was funny in his in his trash talk. But I don't know. And Chael, obviously, he never really got to the. Kobe's gone further than Chael ever got to. But I think Woodley wins. Woodley's shown that he can defend his belt well, and as boring as the fights may be, in which he does, he shows that he knows how to properly prepare for an opponent and break down their game, and then, even if it results in being atrociously boring, he can come away with the victory and remain the champion. I think he'll do so in a fight with Colby, but you never know. I expected RDA to smash him. It didn't happen, so.
Yeah, obviously, for me, once again, two factors in the fight. The wrestling's very important. Colby, an extremely good wrestler. Tyron can probably match that, to be fair.
Definitely.
Then if you look at the striking, Tyron definitely has the edge. More powerful, more crisp, more precise.
Absolutely.
But then, obviously, very muscle-bound Tyron. Colby's got extremely good cardio. If Colby can drag it out, he's got a real shot.
Well, yeah, you say that, but, Tyron's proved that he can go the 5 multiple times. And
yeah, you're right.
He's very, a very muscular fighter, very sort of tight-knit, but he doesn't expend a lot of energy. He doesn't do a lot. He wrestles when he has to. He presses forwards when he has to. He's got those sort of running barrage of punches which follow up with a big overhand. But he doesn't. He's not a very active fighter. He doesn't jump around a lot. He stays calm and composed. So I don't think he'll waste too much energy, and I think he would be able to go to 5. And I think that fight would either go to decision or get finished. And I think Woodley wins both ways.
So now moving on to Tough, the Ultimate Fighter. Finally, I think it's the last season that we're doing now. Is it about great competition, obviously? Kelvin Gastelum, Michael Bisping, Tony Ferguson, Forrest Griffin, Nate Diaz, etc. Robert Whittaker. Loads of fantastic fighters have come through that tournament, but it's getting a little bit stale now. Is it the right time to call it a day?
It's past the right time. It should have ended a good few seasons ago. It really, you could tell it was getting thin on people paying interest and fighters wanting to host it when you've got Conor McGregor hosting and competing against Uriah Faber. There is zero reason for them to be there. It normally makes sense, with the coaches going on to fight each other as well, but it's really getting out of hand. It was a great concept. They should now start putting more effort into, Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender, and Dana White's looking for a fight. And realistically, what we can see here is Dana White wants to be on the screen more than he is.
Loves the celebrity lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Anyway, another person who loves the celebrity lifestyle is CM Punk. And his last couple of fights have sort of shown that, although being a really nice guy and I've really got behind him, the UFC is only for the elite, isn't it?
Yeah, he's was way out of his depth the second he signed his contract. I don't know. I wasn't impressed with. Was it Michael Jackson?
Yeah, Mike Jackson's terrible as well. They need to get rid of him.
He's
currently negotiating a fight with Aaron Chalmers and Bellator, the Geordie Shore star. So
doesn't surprise me, and I think Chalmers wins. Realistically, unless
Chalmers wins.
Unless Mike can defend guillotines.
Yes, because obviously people are paid not to defend them in his Bellator matches.
Seems like a wild conspiracy that I can't get on board with, but yes, it definitely was an atrocious attempt. Well, there was no attempt to defend. It was just
bizarre.
Very, very speaks volumes of the quality in Bellator.
It really
They're
does.
either, old men or no ones who shouldn't be there.
Now, it's nice you talk about the old man, because I want to talk very briefly about the heavyweight Grand Prix that's going on at the moment. So, we're down to the semi-finals. They are going to be Chael Sonnen versus Fedor and Matt Mitrione versus Ryan Bader. I believe you're behind Chael Sonnen to win the whole tournament, aren't you?
I think it'll be Chael versus Mitrione in the final. Realistically, I feel for Matt Mitrione because, he beat the only heavyweights that they had, proved that he was more or less the champion, and then they were like, no, we're gonna start a tournament now, and you're gonna have to prove again that you are. So I think I'd like Matt Mitrione to win. I think Chael could do it though if he gets past Fedor, which I think is definitely feasible. Then I think he can beat Mitrione as well because Mitrione got dropped by Fedor in a very bizarre fight. But the whole Bellator situation, getting UFC fighters, old men, and coming in, it's a very bizarre situation. You know, with Tito Ortiz, have you heard the news of Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell for Golden Boy mixed martial arts?
I mean, I'm glad Golden Boy are getting in, but Christ, this isn't a good fight.
A couple of years behind on the fighters.
Chuck Liddell's about 700 years old now.
I think he actually is 50.
Yeah, I think he's 48, isn't he, Chuck?
He's atrociously old.
And he was like 7-1 losing streak in his last fight.
Oh yeah, he was awful. He's not like he went out on top.
Yeah, he's ruining his legacy because he's already beat Tito twice. There's no point in this third fight.
Which I imagine he'll lose.
Yeah,
Tito's been more active recently, but it's a bizarre one. But I think for the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix, I think I'd like Mitrione to win. I think Mitrione should win, realistically.
Yeah. I love Chael Sonnen as well. The original trash talker in mixed martial arts as well. Some brilliant lines from him. Have you seen his line against Tito Ortiz at the press conference about his wife?
I don't believe I have.
Right, so Tito Ortiz's wife, ex-wife, is Jenna Jameson, who was an ex-porn star. Yeah. And Tito says a line, something like, yeah, Chael's not that good a fight. The only way he's made so much money out of his career is using his mouth. And Chael replies, the only person I know who's making money out of their mouth is his ex-wife. And I think everybody in the crowd was absolutely shocked that Chael came out with that.
He's what Covington wishes he was.
Yeah,
he's just the original, the
original gangster,
the bad guy. Yeah.
But there's something about him, despite the fact he's a serial judge cheat, and I'm always against it. But there's something that's just so likable about him.
I think it's his openness with the fact that he took steroids.
Yeah, I did it.
He just accepts it. He knows everyone else did. He doesn't seem to care too much. I think my favourite trail trash talk is
Anderson Silva absolutely sucks.
Absolutely that. I'm glad you did the impression because I wasn't going to.
Yeah, he was so old school WWE Chael. Actually, here's an interesting story for you. In the lead up to the second Anderson Silva fight, he was offered by Vince McMahon, I think, about 10 million. Yeah. Leave the Silva fight now and come and work for us for 10 mil. And he turned it down.
To be honest, I don't blame him. I don't know how well his WWE career would have gone. But he's a legend of the game.
He's very like Stone Cold, that sort of trash talk.
Yeah, very sort of bit over the top.
Yeah, I actually I hope Chael wins because I still feel for him for the Anderson Silva fight about 10 years ago. He was about 20 seconds off becoming champion.
Yeah, it was a hard one to watch. He has since claimed that he thought if you tapped out, you only lost the round.
That can't be.
So getting submitted in the last round wasn't his. Then again, he made that awful spinning back fist attempt in the.
Yeah, and he fell over.
In the second fight, and that didn't end well for him either. So, yeah, it's Bellator's a weird promotion, but I like the fact that they're getting more big names and they're starting to make their own stars with people like Aaron Pico and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's nice to see that there's another promotion for fighters other than
the UFC.
And I was always a fan of how it was just the UFC in mixed martial arts. One of the things that put me off boxing's the 30,000 promotions.
Yeah.
But I feel the UFC treats the fighters in a way that's probably not the best. And another promotion getting a bit more, mainstream attention is probably a good thing for the sport.
And obviously the UFC make them only wear Reebok, whereas in Bellator you get your sponsorship money. So the fighters are ultimately better treated. They're also doing a welterweight Grand Prix as well, so there'll be a lot of decent younger fighters in that, like MVP, Rory McDonald, Lima, etc., Paul Daly. And they've just announced the deal with DAZN, who, if you don't know about them, have done a massive streaming giant. So they're the head of sports in like Japan and all over the world, really. I think they're in Italy, Kazakhstan. They do lots of different countries. But anyway, they've branched out into America. And they've signed a deal with the World Boxing Super Series and Eddie Hearn to bring a lot of boxing. I know they're bringing in a lot of the football for the Americans, so soccer, as they would say. And obviously, they've just done a deal with Bellator now, which is fantastic for the fighters, as DAZN have got a lot of money to give. And at this press conference that they've just done, they've announced probably the highest standard fight by a long shot in Bellator history. A two-weight world champion fight. Gegard Mousasi, the middleweight champion, versus Rory McDonald, the welterweight champion. And this is definitely the highest quality fight they've ever had.
Oh, absolutely. Undoubtedly. Rory is, without a doubt, the best welterweight in the world. Rory's the only person to beat
Tyron
Woodley recently. I can't say I'm all too familiar with Woodley's record, but I know he's obviously got a good one.
Yeah.
Rory's without doubt the best welterweight in the world. Mousasi,
one of the best middleweights.
He's one of the best middleweights in the world.
Could have become a UFC champion.
I don't think he beats Whittaker.
I don't, but it's the first time really we're getting a fight where these men both could be UFC champions, and that doesn't happen often.
No, for once there's a Bellator of a situation where they have the best fighter, and it's good to see. And I think hopefully with I've heard talks from, I've seen Scott Coker talk about it on Twitter and in interviews. I can't imagine Dana White being keen, but there's talks of cross-promotion tournaments.
Ooh, and no, Dana won't be keen.
Dana won't be keen at all, but as a fan, it's something I'd love to see.
Yeah. And on the undercard of that, we've got this just, like, defines Bellator down to a T. Rampage Jackson versus Vanderlei Silva for the 4th time. It's 73 years of age, I believe.
Well, Rampage, he's never going to fight at anything other than heavyweight. Now he came in at 253 for his fight against Chael. After fighting at light heavyweight, I don't think he's ever going to get near that marker again. So he's stuck firmly in heavyweight. Vanderlei's also the same situation. And if we didn't enjoy, I'm surprised there was even a trilogy, seeing that Vanderlei won the first 2. And then obviously Rampage gets the stoppage in the 3rd one, but we don't need to see it again. They are way past their prime. Just don't. At the end of the day, it's just not needed.
I agree with you. Now moving on to a far more important issue. It was Thursday, mid-afternoon, and the news broke that Fanta Lemon had been discontinued. I was debating throwing myself in front of a car, and Dan, I'm assuming you were quite emotionally hurt by the news.
It was harrowing, really. I was truly heartbroken. I thought of all the times that enjoyed a nice Fanta Lemon whilst in mainland Spain or some country like that, as you go along as a child and you push your cup into the drink dispenser and you enjoy a nice Fanta Lemon. And I thought how that dream world that we lived in was all crashing down around us.
It really was. I felt like I just wanted the ground to swallow me up. It felt over. Life felt done for a brief moment of time. Then it suddenly clicked. I've got about half a bottle left of Fanta Lemon in my fridge.
And I've drunk half of it right now. So.
You have, yeah. But,
however, in good news, it is only in America, so we're all grand.
We're going to get to that. You're ruining the drama story.
People are going to be crying on the other end if they haven't heard the news yet. They're going to be in tears. They're never going to watch another episode. I've just saved lives.
Saved lives. Suicide prevention, please call. But anyway, so Fanta, we had about half a bottle left. My brother was going away for a couple of days, and I thought, I'll watch an episode of How I Met Your Mother and drink this final glass of Fanta and say goodbye. So I pour it out, I drink it, and it tasted the best it's ever tasted. I realised that in life we take a lot of things for granted, and Fanta Lemon was definitely one of them. I'm drinking it. I get to the not quite at the end, about just a couple of sips left. I look at Twitter, and boom, only in the US. It's still available in the UK. Summer isn't over. Life isn't over. I'm still here. Fanta Lemon is back, and I couldn't be happier.
It's some of the best news of recent days. That and the fact that it's coming home.
It's coming home. And Gareth will be drinking Fanta Lemon whilst running in Russia and dislocating his shoulder. So that's the Fanta Lemon news. So anyway, me and Dan mentioned briefly earlier that we've been to New York before. And I felt like on that trip that I had to babysit you a little bit. Because walking past any man selling anything, you were roped into a 20-minute conversation.
Oh, yeah. Well, realistically, I was stolen from by the homeless.
Yeah.
We just left.
They were definitely not homeless.
Absolutely wasn't. We just left the M&M store and a man came over, and I bought
a Boba Fett fan from there, actually. There's a fact of the day for you, but go on.
Interesting details. But we left the...
Always like to add them.
We left the M&M store and a man came over, and I won't do his accent, probably a bit dicey for me, but he came over and proceeded to ask if he wanted to donate to the homeless. I thought, you know what, I'll give him $1. I have $6 in my hand. Because, Americans use notes.
Started with 30, spent a lot on M&Ms.
Yeah. Took $1 away, and then he moved the bucket that he wanted that had the money in, over my hand so that my hand with the $5 was completely inside the bucket, and then gave me this eyes like he'd kick off, suggesting that I'd stolen the $5 from the bucket if I didn't let go. And as he death glared at me, I gave in, and I gave him the $5. Hopefully, he was actually, collecting for the homeless. I doubt it. James here decided that when he'd ask him, he would say, "No, I don't believe in donations. I'm French." And
yeah, that's true. That is true.
You were going around the whole trip trying to bait the Americans, just hoping.
I was winding them all up at every single possible turn.
Yeah,
all the sort of campaigners.
Yeah,
because there's a lot in New York City.
Yeah, past Trump Tower,
Yeah, don't shout anti-Trump stuff past Trump Tower.
It really wasn't a great.
It grinds on the Americans a little bit.
Yeah, they weren't impressed, but I feel babysitting might have been a little bit extreme.
Well, you were doing it every single time. I remember we were just about to get on the boat to the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, Christ.
And you were talking to a man who was literally selling you Fruit Loops. And I think you bought about 3 bags, didn't you?
It was cheap as a pound. He called me Wolverine. I was like, go on then. Yeah, Mr. Maney wasn't happy because Mr. Maney thought that he was talking to him until he realised I had a better beard than him.
Yeah, they like to flirt to the American.
They did. They called Matt White Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Yeah, a very white-looking Tiger Woods.
Very, yeah. Don't know why.
Yeah, I think Chris Rushton was livid.
Yeah, Chris Rushton wasn't happy.
Yeah, so.
But it was an eventful trip.
Yeah,
I was conned many times.
Yeah, many times. I remember the first time one of them came up to me. It was a young street artist giving me his album. And I thought he was just giving it me for free, but no, he was trying to charge me a hell of a lot of money for it. Yeah, New York. One of my favourite moments of New York, and there was a lot on that trip. But it was the night where me, you, and Thomas Clayton, and a bit of context for those who don't know Tom Clayton, he's a lad who used to sit next to me in general studies, and we discussed Star Wars, so that's his role in my life. So yeah, we decided, me, Tom and Dan, that we were going to, all massive How I Met Your Mother fans, that we were going to find McGee's, which is the bar that McLaren's is based on, and we spent ages and ages and ages walking around New York looking for it, and eventually, like the burger bar in How I Met Your Mother, it looked in despair, but eventually we found it.
It was a truly great moment. I proceeded to take countless photos using the remainder of my battery because we've been looking around for that long that my phone had died.
Yeah, it took a very long time. I got a lot of photos from that day.
And it was great, and it looks absolutely nothing like the original bar. There's the occasional photo of Neil Patrick Harris enjoying a beverage there, and that's about it. But other than that, it was still amazing, and we all enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, weird to think that the writers actually spent their days after work in there.
Indeed, yeah. It was a truly magical time.
Yeah, we proceeded to go on to have a very, very, very long quiz in Times Square about How I Met Your Mother, where we showed that we both have exceedingly too good knowledge on the subject.
Yeah, it really got out of hand. We left the pub, returned to the little red chairs in Times Square, and instead of utilising the remaining time of our trip in New York, we thought we'd just sit down and talk about a TV show. And it really did get out of hand. We realised it started as like a mildly competitive quiz. Whoever got the most right. We realised both of us knew too much, and it never ended. And we just settled that we were.
Yeah, we went on for a very long time. And there's only so much How I Met Your Mother you can listen to with your Tom Clayton without going absolutely ballistic.
Yeah. There's only so much you can do before you have to start addressing season 9.
Oh, don't be like that. Season 9 is the most heartbreaking thing I've ever been through. And Luke hasn't seen season 9 yet, who's our technical producer, and sat behind me, so I don't want to ruin the story for him yet, because he's watched quite a lot of it. But it's heartbreaking. In fact, Luke, cover your ears, please, because I want to talk about this, because it's absolutely heartbreaking.
Edit it later.
Oh, Luke has to edit it later, so therefore I cannot reveal how it finishes, but it's truly heartbreaking, and I've not quite ever forgiven them for it.
One of the worst endings in television.
Something that's so well written over such a long period of time, ruined by such a terrible, terrible finale.
I have no words.
But other than that, the best sitcom of all time? Up there.
I'd mention it.
Okay,
I wouldn't go that far.
So what's competing with it at the top?
I don't know.
And if you have knowledge on a sitcom more than you have an How I Met Your Mother, I'm going to be impressed. But go on.
I don't know. There's a lot of good ones out there. A lot of good ones. There's not many good ones on at the moment. I'd say the only good one at the moment that I'd say I potentially prefer is Brooklyn Nine-Nine as of now, but other than that, there's a lot. You've got the classic ones. If we're talking American, you got Friends is probably going to be included.
Friends.
My issue is I watched How I Met Your Mother, and then I watched Friends.
You've got to do it the other way.
And there's so many storylines in How I Met Your Mother that they've just outright stolen.
Exactly.
Well, there's that whole episode of Joey and Chandler losing the baby. Happens in How I Met Your Mother. There's so many. I'm just sitting there the whole time, just.
I suppose it's just a New York thing to lose your baby.
A little bit wounded each more episode. That's an awful sentence.
Yeah.
Every passing
That's somebody
episode,
who has an A-level in English.
I'm doing a great in English. So it's a hard life.
And that's a standard of literature in our country.
It's really getting out of hand. But yeah, no, How I Met Your Mother's a great show.
Yeah.
The ending ruined it for me, but
Yeah, very emotional actually in Time's Home. It really taps into the real emotion of life. Like, I don't think there's the scene where Barney meets his dad for the first time and he's taking down that basketball hoop. Really emotional. The lad's been broken for his whole life due to the lack of I can't believe the word's completely gone. He has abandonment. There we go. Abandonment issues. And it all comes to a head when he meets his dad. Also has a lot of comedy, a lot of heart. Overall, a good show.
And that's why James believes it's the greatest one of all time.
Could well be. Could well be indeed.
There you have it.
So moving on to another show that's sweeping our nation, and that's Love Island. And Dan was telling me earlier that he's an absolute super fan. As
far from the truth as you could possibly get. I have been forced into watching countless episodes. My girlfriend believes it's a fair trade that if I watch the football, I then have to watch Love Island.
In and around fair.
Hey, it seems fair. I can't say I enjoy it, but we get by. I know now too much about the show. I've tried to mute every single thing to do with it on Twitter. Still keeps popping up.
It'll find its way through. There's no way of filtering it out.
It's I'm not a big fan of reality TV.
No. Say Imogen was out the picture, and you went into the
we're not doing this.
And you went into the Love Island villa.
Happening.
Who would you couple up with hypothetically?
Absolutely not happening.
None of them do it for you.
No.
Fair enough. Every single guest so far I've had on this show, that's you, Chris Rushton and Peter Frew, have all turned down a question. So that was your moment.
What did Chris turn down?
Chris didn't want to go into too in depth on his sexual exploits in America.
I mean, I understand that. It's fair game, really. It's fuck's sake.
So is there anyone in the villa who?
Nope.
I'm just lads include just as people that you think are all right. Anyone you're getting behind who you want to see find love.
Christ, I can't believe I'm actually talking about this.
We do a Love Island segment at the end every time.
Right then, fine. I'm back in Jack and Danny.
Jack and thank you. They're a good couple.
I've been told of what happened in his previous relationships. I can't say I'm all that impressed, but they seem all right.
Yeah, we're never advocates for adultery on this show, but we're always allowing people to have a second chance. Or a third chance in Jack's case.
Wow, okay. I think it's hilarious that Adam likes to move. Is it Adam the one who's good about,
He's in with the tattooed girl now, isn't he?
Daryl.
I don't
Can't say I've ever heard a female be called Daryl before.
It's just a great name and really suits her, I think.
But yeah, I think it's funny how quickly he can get on board with moving on from someone.
On the sly, I think he's comedy gold. He doesn't have that much personality, but his decision-making process is fantastic.
I got the perfect person for this. Wes. Do you not think he kind of looks like Doddy? In the face. In the face, not in the face, he's got
I can see the features, yeah. I can see it a bit.
Look at him. He looks like Doddy.
Yeah, and unlucky to Wes, who was thrown off the island the other day. So unlucky Wes.
Was he?
I think so, yeah. I'm actually 2 days behind, so I'm struggling to try and keep up with what's going on. But I thought he'd gone. I might be wrong.
He hasn't. There's mad spoilers, but he's not.
Yeah. What's going on with Josh and Georgia? How do you see that?
You are behind, aren't you?
I'm behind. I have watched Sundays.
How am I? Oh, I hate this so much.
Well, I was working over the weekend, obviously. Wipeout, Bouncy Castles, etc.
What does my life come to that?
You're more ahead on reality TV than I am.
Yeah. Do you just want me to outright spoil it for you?
Go on, spoil it for me.
So they did a whole thing with because they had the whole Casa. Oh my God, I hate my life. The whole Casa Amor thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the they got to choose if they wanted to recouple or not.
Yeah.
Or whether they wanted to stay with who they were. Georgia decided that she wants to stay with Josh, and Josh rocks up back at the original villa with a new girl.
Yeah.
So it's all gone downhill quickly for them.
Yeah. People are going to be absolutely livid with me this because I've seen the support for Georgia on Twitter, but I don't think Josh has done too much wrong, considering the whole process of the show is to find the person best suited for you, and Kaz appears to be more suited for him than Georgia.
It's a bizarre one. It's it's weird because it's only on days of interaction, but then it's 24 hours. It's the whole concept of the show is bizarre.
Yeah.
And I hate that I know anything about it.
Are you getting behind Dr. Alex?
No, he's doing my head in a bit.
No, I think the only person he needs to couple up with is Factor 50. So I think, Dan, it's been absolutely tremendous having you on.
Thank you very much.
I think it's been an unbelievable insight to the world of music and to have somebody to have a really good MMA discussion with. So really appreciate that. It'd be lovely to have you on in maybe November alongside Matthew White to do maybe a bit on the Madison Square Garden card or the New Year's card, either or. Thank you for being on. And to close us out is your cover of Stuck in the Middle with You. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Well, I don't